Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help mental health professionals grow their dream practices and live a life they love. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building tips. We invite you to take advantage of our private practice paperwork and our signature marketing e-course. And we have a gift for you. This is the exact methodology we use to create our six-figure private pay practices and have helped many other therapists do the same. Go to privatepracticestartup.com and on the homepage, click the button to download a free copy of your dream private practice playbook. Now on to today's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. We hope you're all doing fantastic today. And if you're not, that's okay too. We're just glad that you're here listening and joining us. I hope that you guys joined us last week for a super duper, very, very important podcast with second time guest Julie Harris, the owner of Green Oak Accounting. That's probably how you know her name, or you know Green Oak Accounting. They're actually a accounting firm that works with therapists exclusively. But Julie was on the podcast sharing her book, The Quick Start Guide on how to make your private practice profit first. So super exciting for the therapist community that a book was written just for you therapists on really making your practice profit first. And if you're familiar with Profit First, Julie created the derivative of the book Profit First from Mike Michalowicz. I don't know, but I'm on this big financial kick this year for therapists really to have financial wellness in their lives. So I'm going to recommend you definitely check out that podcast if you haven't. And you can also grab the book as well. And here at the Private Practice Startup, you know that we are all about helping you guys live your dream life, make the money you deserve, as well as make an impact. And one of those ways is to have a 24/7, 365 salesperson. And who is that? It's your website. So that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. We are inviting Erin Carpenter from Mental Health Marketing, talking about the 3 ways a website can help build your practice. So a little bit about Erin and his team at Mental Health Marketing. They've been working with clinicians for over a decade now, and his team built onlinecounseling.com, a directory. And since then, they've worked on hundreds of clinicians' websites and marketing strategies as well. So Erin's going to share his top tips of what he has seen work through different phases of a clinician's journey from beginning to possibly growing great practices. And he'll share with you about that as it relates to websites. But before we officially welcome, let's just take a quick moment for our sponsor. As a private practice owner, there are dozens of things to worry about. If you decide to accept insurance billing does not have to be a worry. Practice Solutions is a remote billing company who connects providers with billers in the U.S. who specialize in mental health billing. Their expertise has helped clinicians increase and maintain steady revenue by submitting and following up on claims regularly, resolving old aging claims, and performing eligibility and benefit checks. With Practice Solutions, you're assigned a billing expert who learns the ins and outs of your practice, functioning as an extension of your own team. So you can focus on what matters most, your clients and growing your practice. One of Practice Solutions' current clients says, Practice Solutions has been amazing for my practice, its growth, and my peace of mind when it comes to billing. Practice Solutions works with clients ranging from solo practitioners just starting out, as well as to larger group practices with multiple clinicians. Practice Solutions offers a free billing consultation to determine if their services are a good fit for you and your practice. Visit practicesoul.com/startupnation and schedule an appointment. Again, that's a free consultation at practicesoul.com/startupnation. Erin, welcome. You are a first-time guest. So welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great.
We're excited to have you. Yeah. And this is a topic that was actually voted on by you, Startup Nation. So we're excited to hear Erin's journey and how he became passionate about helping us as therapists in private practice. So I guess let's start there, Erin, before we dive into our topic.
Yeah, sure. So when I was younger, I saw a therapist for a number of reasons. So I was kind of introduced to that world at a young age. But then later on in life, I just became really interested in web design and development. One day, my cousin came over when I was in like 9th grade or something, and he opened up Notepad on the computer and typed some code and saved it as a .html and opened it up in a web browser. And I was like, what? You can do that? That's amazing. So I just kept tinkering with it and went to school, got a bachelor's in business with a focus in small business and entrepreneurship. And at the same time, I was using my first company, Legendary Lion, as a sort of like I'm building this in real time as I'm getting my degree. And that is around the time as I finished that degree, I ran into Joe Sanek of Practice of the Practice. He's also from Traverse City, Michigan, my hometown. So we met, shook hands. He's like, hey, man, I want to redo my site and my logo. If you guys go there now, you'll see the site and logo that we built. And I just sponsored a couple of podcasts, went to a couple of events, and just kept getting warm referrals. And they just kept building and building and building. So eventually we graduated into mental health marketing, which is just primarily all of our experience focused on helping clinicians at each stage of practice grow their business.
I love that.
Very cool. Yeah. And it's funny, as you were talking about the story about, I don't know if you said your cousin or whatever, and you're talking about the HTML code and how cool that was. Like my mind just went like, I have no idea what that is. I mean, I know what that is, but I'm like, no, thanks. That's
you don't want to know.
My zone of genius. Yeah. No. Kate and I like to say like, okay, this box in this color needs to be here on the right. And then that's all we like to do.
Yes.
I don't like to know.
I've built my fair share of websites and I can do it, but I outsource it now because it is so time consuming. And for most clinicians in private practice, they're not tech savvy. So to have someone to be able to take care of the tech side of things and help them to be found when the clients who are out there desperately needing their help, they're looking for them. I mean, it's essential. So where should we start with today's topic, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, so we have, working over the years, we have different types of clients, and we started to figure out that businesses in private practice kind of have different needs in different stages. And this is obviously kind of broad brush, but really we have like 3 stages of business that we've identified. There's a solo practitioner or someone starting the business. There's a small group practice, like a single location, small team of maybe 3 to 5, something like that. And then there's group practice, multiple locations. And when clients come to us in any one of those stages, they have different needs. So today I was kind of structuring, when we did the voting and figured out what we were going to be talking about, I thought, what I'd like to do is kind of pick the primary thing that I feel like a practice can do in any one of those stages and just kind of elaborate on each one. And maybe we just start with like solo practitioners and kind of work our way up from there.
That's great.
Sounds perfect.
So for stage ones, those are solo practitioners. They may have had a business for a while or they're just getting started. The main thing for that person, and I've heard this from, talking with clients who have group practice, multiple location, 7 figures in revenue, they always come back to, you need a professional website. Lots of therapists try to DIY their website, and it is a way to save some money, but the key thing to remember is that when someone searches for you, first of all, you got to be found. Because if you're not found by that person, that's not a conversation that starts. But secondly, they're going to be looking at probably several different websites. Typically what we've found is a person who is searching for a therapist has kind of had like a crisis moment or something. And so they're trying to find a solution for that thing. And they're going to compare those websites. And if your website doesn't look professional, that initial trust that you're trying to establish before you've even started the conversation may not be there. So hiring a professional and making sure that professional adds your phone number in the top of the website so you can immediately be reached. And you have a contact form on that website that you test yourself to make sure regularly that those emails are coming to you so that you can follow up as quick as possible with that person who's looking to start that conversation with you.
Yeah, we couldn't agree with you more that the website is a non-negotiable. And I would argue that therapists are losing money by not working with an expert on their website. If there are many therapists who try to, bootstrap it, especially early on, and do their own site, and they try to get all of the free stuff on the website, on the internet of how to do this, but it's not done well and it doesn't look really professional. And that is the first experience with your brand. It's the first experience, like you're saying, with the building the know, like, and trust factor, which is so important in the therapeutic relationship. And if they don't have that from the start, they're going to jump right off and find another therapist. So yeah, we definitely agree with you there.
It's so important. And, two quick stories. I remember when I was creating a different brand for my therapy practice and I created the brand and it was like early on and the brand was amazing. And then I was like, but wait, I rent space, and my brand and what people are going to see on the website is not relevant to the space that I'm renting. Like, this isn't a match. I can't do this. Because it creates this thing in the brain that's just like, like it doesn't make sense. Recently, I went to a restaurant actually here locally. Kate knows it, Oceanic in Pompano. And I just wanted to kind of create a post, and I went to go on the website to pull the story or check out the story or whatever. And their website there was no pictures of their restaurant on their website. Like, they totally did themselves a disservice. And I even tried to contact them. Their contact form was not working. I messaged them on social, no response. Like, it's just so important, if you are going to DIY your website, is you need to make sure that everything is consistently working. And if not, definitely hire a professional, because it can create a distrust in people's brain and mind if it's not congruent.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's a cognitive dissonance there, maybe, that a designer can definitely help you avoid with clients. There's a great deal of inference and things that clients do to judge, especially if it's their first time in therapy. Do I feel like I can trust this person? Can I share some of my deepest, darkest thoughts with this person? And so if the experience is kind of DIY and strung together, it doesn't really land the same way than a designer speaking with you and going, okay, tell me about yourself, and how do you approach therapy, and what is it like in the office with you? And then translating that into a visual and storytelling experience that can really resonate with an ideal client. And it's not totally a website thing, but definitely related. You got to pick an ideal client that helps your designer really help zero in on the messaging for, whomever that you're ideally working with. And that doesn't mean that's the only work you take. That's the work that you build towards, right? Not necessarily the work that you take.
And that's key. Yeah,
one
absolutely.
of the quotes that Kate and I love from Donald Miller of StoryBrand is, if you confuse, you lose. So I know that there's some therapists listening to this right now that are struggling with, I don't want to have to choose an ideal client. But when you're speaking to the masses, it's confusing, and it creates, it's not clear. So it's so very important. But I love how Erin says it. It's not, you're not excluding. It's something that you're working towards. And it really should be, someone that you're passionate about working with. Erin, before we continue, let's just take a quick moment for our sponsor. As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using Therapy Notes. They make billing, scheduling, note-taking, telehealth, and e-prescribing incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. Look, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Therapy Notes is the #1 highest rated EHR available today, with 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot and Google. Go to therapynotes.com and enter code PPS, as in Private Practice Startup, and receive a special 2-month trial, absolutely free. And hey, if you're coming from another EHR, no worries. Therapy Notes will import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost to you, so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time. Go to therapynotes.com and enter code PPS for your 2-month free trial.
Do you ever worry about money as a private practice owner? If so, you're not alone. I want to tell you about Profit First for Therapists, a new book that customizes the Profit First system specifically for private practice owners. For therapists, profit is often an afterthought. You focus on caring for clients and paying rent and clinicians, and then take home the leftovers, if there are any. Through client stories and case studies, powerful frameworks, and simple tips, the book lays out a clear path to profitability. You'll find step-by-step instructions for implementing Profit First in practices of all sizes, from startups to multi-million-dollar practices. It will leave you feeling empowered to look at your finances instead of just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. Julie Harris from Green Oak Accounting takes a subject that most therapists find confusing and speaks about it in a way that is simple and easy to understand. This book covers so much more than just Profit First. It also includes financial literacy building blocks and tips for scaling, paying down your debt, paying yourself, and so much more. This book will give you the tools you need to stop worrying about money and finally achieve financial freedom. Advanced readers agreed this is the missing link most private practice owners need. Go to profitfirstfortherapists.com/PPS to order your copy today, or find it on Amazon and other online bookstores.
Where to next in our journey today?
Yeah. So let's move to what we refer to as stage twos, which are group practices, single team, usually 3 to 5 people. With that type of project, we're starting to talk more about messaging. When you're starting a practice where we just came from, you need the basics, you need business basics, you need to go out and network and that kind of a thing. So your website is just what you need, in our opinion. And that also helps limit the budget that you might need to spend. But when you get into stage two, you really want to start filling out like avatars for your ideal client and messaging to them. So a blog becomes much more important. One of my favorite questions that I get from clients is a blog good for SEO? And it's like, okay, there's a lot to unpack there, and you might not realize that, but there is. So let me just try to briefly address that if people listening are thinking the same thing and have that question. Yes. If I had to answer in a yes, no, yes, a blog is good for SEO, but a blog really is best utilized when you have a strategy of your messaging and who you're talking to. A frequent sort of challenge or pitfall that my clients will get into is they'll just post and post and post and share and share and share on social. And that is definitely better than nothing, but it's so much more effective if you take some time to sit down and work on your business and think about, okay, what are the main challenges of my clients? What are their goals and aspirations? How can I craft some posts that directly speak to those things so that they can't wait for the next one to come out? It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Again, we're building trust digitally when you're not in the room. So we want posts to be something where when your client reads it, they're like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. And ideally, even that has some content that can help or give them something to implement in their own lives, which they get positive feedback from, which directly translates to trust back to you, back to your practice and your you as a therapist. So it's more about messaging there and blog and getting that all in tune.
And consistency. Yeah, having a consistent strategy for being able to really speak to your audience and nurture them and inspire that know, like, and trust factor. Love it. Yep. So where are we going to next?
So the last stage threes would be like group practice, multiple locations. And at this point, if you're listening and that describes your business, you have teams and you have locations and and your teams focus on different populations and different issues. And what can be very advantageous for you, this is kind of a two-parter because it's at that point, you're really focused on two business drivers, in my opinion. The first is having a therapist directory on your own site where a client can search by insurance type, by issue, by location. Those types of things are really helpful for a potential client who's searching for that first connection to see the options that your practice can provide. And all of your therapist bios should be on there of their story so that they can kind of get a sense with their headshot and their story and what who they primarily serve, if that would be a good fit for them. But the second part tends to also be company culture and recruitment. Especially right now, a lot of the clients that I've been talking to, especially the stage twos and threes, they're telling me that if they don't have great company culture, that therapists are going out and starting their own practice and they're sort of hemorrhaging talent. And so one of the ways that we've found to help our clients mitigate that is to create more of a recruitment strategy and a retention strategy. And that involves the site. So sometimes at that stage, and maybe even in a stage two, you can identify team members who really like to write or are public speakers and want to go do group sessions or something, but you need a place to display that information. So we create these mini content platforms within the site that are all under the brand of the practice and kind of help retain that talent. While at the same time, we work with them to build videos and job listings right there on the site so that if a therapist is searching around because they're like, hey man, running a business is not for me. I don't want to do it. I want to work for somebody, that they can find that on your site, find that opportunity and get a sense of what it might be like to work with you.
I like how you really have a good understanding of the pain points of therapists at different stages, and that you guys have been able to meet them where they're at with what they're needing most. I think that's really cool. Katie, I saw you shaking your head up and down as Aaron's talking. What thoughts are you having?
Thumbs up when he said, company culture just makes my heart happy. We actually have our culture on our website. I know Kate does for her group practice. And, it's just something that Kate and I stand by, believe in, and we talk about when you're clear on your brand and your brand values. And like you said, at a stage 3, and you're clear on your company culture, you hire the right people to work with you and your team, and there creates a loyalty. Kate, she has 3 practice locations now, and her team loves her. They love working for her, you know what I mean? Or with her, I should say, because of her model. But it's just amazing. Kate, I'll let you talk a little bit more about the culture you've created and why that's important.
Yeah, I mean, we're super passionate about culture and think it is so important. And it is something, that we talk a lot about at the Private Practice Startup, and something that we have very clear at my practice here in South Florida, Bayview Therapy. And we have 3 different locations. We've got 32 team members at this point. And it's amazing because having a clear company culture and very clear brand values, that we communicate that clearly on our website, I naturally attract the clinicians who are going to be a great fit. And it's almost like this organic vetting process. And I have a really streamlined onboarding system. And so we only get people who are going to be a really good fit for the office when they reach the interview stage with our care coordinator and then with myself. So by that point, they've already vetted themselves organically through this whole process and what they're seeing with the culture. And the culture is key at different offices. And sometimes as clinicians are expanding group offices with new locations, they struggle with being able to replicate and create the company culture that was in their first office. So I think it's so awesome that you're talking about that in the website aspect, not only for potential team members, for bringing on potential team members or retaining them, but also for the clients that come in. They experience that company culture as well. And the better you are at being clear on that and being able to communicate that online, the better it's going to be throughout the entire process, and really creating that alignment with who you're working with and who's working for you in your practice. I love that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when we're working, it's usually an issue that comes up for people that are, or clients of ours that are group practice, multiple location or stage 3s, because of, trying to recruit and build the team. And they're going through the traditional cycle of, okay, well, I need offices, and then I need team, and then I need to fill their caseload, and then I need offices. And you just kind of go through this flywheel effect. But the company culture piece is what I almost always find missing from the website. And it's really important, especially for new hires, to understand, like, what are the values? Because it's not always the same, in every practice, and not every practice has the same model and, embraces the same way of working with other therapists. And so when you're clear about that, it's similar to what I was describing in stage 1, where you should definitely pick an ideal client. Someone that you're, a population or a specific set of issues that you're trying to become more expert in and keep your messaging centered around. That's the same thing that you have to do when you start building team. You have to identify who's an ideal therapist to work for my business. And sometimes I've worked with practices where I've had them take the same document we have to define that and flip it and go, who's not an ideal therapist? What are those traits? So that we can make sure that we're highlighting that on the site. And as you said, it acts as a natural filter, so it makes the whole process a lot easier on both sides.
It does. One of the things, Erin, we do, so we have our private practice marketing e-course and coaching program. And, right in the beginning, we're talking about brand values, vision, mission, and culture. So because we also believe, when you're going from the solopreneur, and maybe you decide never to be a group practice owner, but you are going to work with team, and team could be a web designer, it could be your accountant, it could be a social media manager, it could be whoever, is that when you're clear on that culture from the beginning, you know who to work with and who not to. It's different than filling a job position, right? Or finding the cheapest whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, is this person aligned with my values? Do they believe the same things I do? Do they work in the same process? Are they excited? I know when Kate and I hired our social media manager for the Private Practice Startup, and she's gone on to do work for our other businesses, she came on, first of all, she researched us, and she came on and she just owned our she kept talking about our audience and our business. And Kay and I were texting on the side while we're on the Zoom with her. We're we love her. She's amazing. You know what I mean? Awesome. It was just she totally fit our culture, and we love her. She is amazing. Shout outs to Ina if you're listening to this podcast. But again, it was a hire because of company culture. And, we don't our VA, she's in Kenya, Africa, and I think she's been with us maybe 5 years now.
Maybe more. Yeah.
Maybe more. And I'll say something about culture. I know this podcast is about websites, but clearly I'm passionate about culture. She had even told us like she let go of other like part-time positions that she was getting paid more at because she loved what we were about and who we were and what we represent. And it was really cool. She shared with us that she does a portion of, she doesn't edit our podcast. She sends them to our podcast editor, but she started listening to the podcast. And she actually, because of her listening to our podcast, she actually created her own little business in Kenya. It's like a fruit stand or something like that. So it was just really cool. And I think that that's like the extension of culture. It's not about filling a position. It's not about just having another therapist in your practice who works with children or whatever it is. It's part of something bigger. So I will get off my
soapbox
about culture, just like you got excited about HTML.
I love it. Well, Erin, I think this is the first time that someone's been on the podcast in our 324 episodes today, where they've looped culture back into the website and how important it is to have that clarity. So I love that you're bringing that up in the examples that you talked about.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's like you had mentioned earlier, Katie, that we kind of like got off on this other subject, but I think that if you're working to build a business seriously in therapy, your digital presence is key. I mean, I've been doing this pre-COVID. I saw the transition and pivot therapists had to make, and all of the telehealth and everything that, imagine what we did as an agency during that time and helping change projects. But the reason why I think this conversation tends to go off on those tangents is because it all is really important to tie those things back into your site as a representation of what your practice is so that you show up to new clients and to potential new team members. So I think that's why the conversation tends to drift that way. We could talk about code and stuff, but like really everybody cares about these things, right? And how that ties back into the website. And it's what's going to have maximum impact.
Awesome. And Erin, what do you most want our audience to take away from your message today?
That, your website is key. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a website designer, developer. It really is.
We'll say it. Your website's key. It's not coming from you.
It's a non-negotiable.
It's
right.
Key. So take the time to invest. One of the things that I talk with clients about is, you can look this up. The Small Business Administration recommends that you spend somewhere between 7 to 10% of your annual revenue on marketing, all marketing. So you might be doing direct mail, you might belong to some associations or whatever, but a portion of that should be spent on digital marketing to keep a healthy and growing business. So whatever that annual revenue figure is for you, think about it in those terms, and then talk to your designer or developer about what their plan is to earn that money back. What's your lifetime value of client? How many leads can they get you? And what is your capacity so that you can make sure before you even get started on a project, it's the right value for you and you have a plan for using it to grow your practice.
And I just wanted to highlight, and I think this just kind of speaks to, I know you said that you got a degree in business and it really speaks to that. And, from the coaching that I receive, is that, your hires, whatever, they should actually be helping you profit. So I love that you say that, right? A website isn't an investment, yes. And at the same time, it should generate you more income than you actually invest. So I love that you're even talking about the idea of when, a therapist is looking for a web designer, and definitely recommending to reach out to you guys, is like, these are my goals. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to, gain leads, profit, clients, etc. So I really love that really should be a question in the conversation. So I appreciate you thinking about us and putting on your business hat and really helping therapists realize that this is an income generating initial expense rather than just an expense.
Yeah, as I said before, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that you have a giveaway for our audience. What is that?
I do. So a lot of the things that I've been talking about, I've been working on for a long time. It was maybe going to be a book, but then I was like, hey, we're designers and developers. Let's turn this into a system. So we've built the Private Practice Planner. It's totally free. There is no gimmick. We may reach out to you from time to time to let you know what we're doing in our sphere and everything. But if you go to planner.mentalhealthmarketing.com, you can sign up for an account. and it takes you through each stage. So if you're already in stage 2, you can start right there, but it takes you through all the things that we've learned help grow a therapy, private practice. So that's what we're here offering everybody today. And there is a feedback system built into that. So if you see something that you feel like you can help contribute to that guide, or doesn't look correct to you, you can let us know. We will immediately take care of that. It's kind of our living, breathing business guide, help you build it better offer that we're bringing to you today.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. And of course, we'll add that information to our show notes.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here, Aaron. I know Startup Nation is going to enjoy this episode, and we did as well. It was such a great conversation to participate in. And Startup Nation, we love to hear your feedback. And if there's an episode or topic that we haven't had on our 324 episodes, please let us know. Or if you want to be a guest, and we love to hear from you in that respect. And we also want to encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review the show, share with your friends and fellow colleagues. Really helps us to be able to help more clinicians, which helps more people heal across the globe. And that's why we do what we do. So thanks again, everybody, for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. In the meantime, stay inspired.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.